Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Experts Game podcast. My name is Matt Rudisell, and I'm your host. And we are so excited today to have a good friend of mine here in the audience. Her name is Samantha Lee Amaya. And Samantha, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Matt. How are you?
I am doing great. I am so excited to hear about your story today, but we will get right back to it after this brief introduction. My name is Matt Rudisell, and I've been a business owner for the past 24 years, helping others get what they want out of life. I help people and businesses grow with the help of one-on-one coaching, social media assistance, and planning that will get them to that next level. But instead of working with you myself, I developed this podcast to share with you what others are actually doing. These people are your neighbors, your friends, could also be you. But do you consider yourself an expert? Do you know someone who is? Have you ever wondered what it takes to become that person? Well, today, in this episode of the Experts Game podcast, our guest will share with you the struggles, hardships, and successes they've experienced on their way to becoming an expert in their field. You don't want to miss it, so grab your notebook and pen, and we'll get started in just a moment. My name is Matt Rudisell, and I've been a business owner for the past we still got the music playing in the background. What's going on? Out of life. I help people and businesses grow. Let's see if we can get that stopped here. Okay, always technical things sometimes. Well, Samantha, welcome back. And I am excited today. Why don't you tell? I know you're in Atlanta, Georgia, so a state near and dear to my heart. As you guys know, I'm a big Georgia Bulldogs fan, and actually graduated from there in 1994. So Samantha's just a little bit south of Atlanta, I believe. And tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the great state of Georgia.
Yeah, those are great questions, Matt. And also, thank you for introducing me to your audience and letting me be a part of what you're creating. That's really exciting. Um, so I am just a little bit south of Atlanta, about 30-45 minutes from the airport. And we've been here for almost 4 years, coming up on 4 years, originally from Utah. So I've been from one side of the country to the other. And I've got four kids. They are 12 to 4, three boys, and then the last one's a girl. And so I spend a lot of my time, mom life, and also running a business. And when I'm not doing that, I love sitting by the ocean as much as I can. We try to make it over there. And letting my kids explore nature. I love reading. I'm an avid personal development junkie. I don't think I really own too many books outside of personal development type things and learning about other highly successful entrepreneurs and leaders who've made a big difference.
Wow, that sounds pretty good. I think that Jim Rohn said that leaders are readers, and the more you read, the more you'll excel. Now, personally, I don't read a lot. I've got a ton of books back here, and even more, probably in boxes or in a library at the house. But um, I have this wonderful app called Audible that I'm happy to say that I get through probably a book or two a month, which I'm happy about, so a lot better than not doing anything at all. But I do think that's a wonderful trait to have. So you've taken a lot of this knowledge that you've gained from a lot of different sources and put this into your business, Create Your Life. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Create Your Life is, it was really born from this desire to go from where I was, probably I've been in personal development and the direct selling space for almost 14 years. And for a long time, like the majority of that, probably the first 12 years, it was, only talk about the most beautiful parts of being an entrepreneur. Only talk about the positive things, never focus on the negative. And there's truth to that, but it kind of goes to the extreme where we're so busy trying to be what everybody else wants us to be that we forget why we started in the first place. We forget that we have a real life and that real life happens to everybody. And we can't just ignore it and make it go away. That's not actually how it works. And so I dove into like psychology and how the brain functions and how our bodies work connected with our brain. And what it came to a couple years ago was I was like, I don't want to live how everybody else is living. I want to find what my truth is, what matters to me. And I wanted to give other people the opportunity to figure that out for themselves as well. And I was figuring out like, what's my branding? What's my message? All those things we try to figure out. And then I realized that like I want you to create your life, not the life I want, not the life that the most successful leaders want, tell us about. Like, I don't want to live like Tony Robbins, even though he's absolutely phenomenal. I don't want to live like Russell Brunson. That's his vision. It's not my vision. What do I want the most? And then I started telling people that in the midst of everything we're hearing and all the marketing messaging and everything that sounds so pretty and great, how do you want your life to look like? And let's create your life. And that's kind of where that came from, was that own personal journey and then sharing it with other people.
Gosh, that's pretty good. I know that a good friend of mine, McCall Jones, and I don't know if you know McCall or not, but she does something called charisma hacking. And one of the main things that she talks about to begin with is you can't live in someone else's life. You're not meant to be that Tony Robbins or that Russell Brunson, like you mentioned. You're meant to be Samantha, and I'm meant to be Matt. And I think that's so important for business owners today because we try to model ourselves after someone else. Every client that I work with, I talk about modeling other people's businesses, but I never talk about modeling themselves. Model yourself after what your calling is and what you should be focused on, the main reason you went into business to begin with. So I think that's fantastic. Do you feel like right now that you are moving towards that goal of this is why I really wanted to be in business for myself?
I do. I really do, Matt. And what you said is like so perfect for people to hear and understand, especially when you're talking about branding and modeling a business and figuring out what works and doesn't work. Is I'm learning to shift my mindset to a place where it's, I really like how you do that. How can I do that but make it me?
Hmm.
How can I make it seem real for me? Because there's a lot of successful business models out there, but they're not going to work for everyone. And so a good question to ask that I'm asking as I'm working through this process, and it's an evolution. I don't think that we just arrive and that's it, because our life changes in different seasons and chapters. And so for me, the question I'm asking myself as I'm getting to where I want to be is, does this help to build the life that I want to be living, that I can get excited about every morning? And if not, that piece of what they're doing probably isn't the right fit for them.
Yeah, that's true. That is fantastic. I think that there's there's so much to dissect out of there. I think that there is a need for that today. I really feel like you're on the right path with helping other people find these pieces of themselves because there ultimately is a reason that they went into business for themselves. It may have been a financial reason. In my situation, it was a time freedom reason, and I still live that, to this day. I do certain things daily that have become habits over the years that allow me to pull back some of that time, and take back some of that time. So I definitely love that shifting your mindset attitude and stuff. Well, let me ask you this question. And this may be hard because of what you just said, but if you could describe your average workday, what would it be? Is there an average workday?
Well, I have 4 kids, and that requires a lot of flexibility that I have to give, a lot of grace to myself, to my schedule, and to what I'm creating in my business. And so my average work day is kind of different than most people, I feel like. And that's not something I'm perfect at, but I do live off of a calendar as much as possible. And so my average day usually consists of like waking up in the morning, and I have to remember like I need to pray. If we're running behind on schedule, I didn't wake up soon enough, then I just read like a quick scripture verse instead of actual like meditation. And then I do all of my wake up things, like I do like qigong and tapping and all this different stuff to get my energy where I want it to be. I do it with my kids in the car on the drive to school, so that when I get home, I'm already ready to sit down and go, okay, what are the most critical tasks today? And I pick three things every day. And I learned that from Brendan Burchard. He's a high performance coach, if you don't know who he is. And so I just pick three, and then I focus on those three things. And throughout the day, I have reminders that go off like, drink your water. Hey, it's probably past noon. Have you eaten today? Make sure you get up and move if you're feeling tired or fatigued. And I just kind of like, it's more of a physical and mindset flow every day around those three critical tasks so that I don't show up in places not at my best. And everything else just has to fall in between those things. And then in the evenings, I try to cut it off so that I'm present with my kids after school because they need that too. And that's, part of creating my life is not being attached to my phone 24/7 like I used to be.
Yeah, you're speaking to me a lot today. I am in my second life, I guess, with children. I have a 24-year-old and a 21-year-old. So they're out of the house. They're grown. They're on their own. But then we also have an 8-year-old, and it's like we're starting over. And I have to remember that I need to take myself away from the business. I mean, I personally could probably work around the clock, if I was able to do so, because I have that desire to do so. But a lot of times I have to use the word grace a while ago. I have to give myself a little bit of grace of when things don't get done. And so I think that's fantastic. This has been a great meeting so far today, because I'm taking notes as you as you talk. Let me ask you this: if you had to start all over today and just pick up, little pieces that you might have, start completely new, what would you do? Would you do the same thing?
I think I would. And a good question for anybody who's listening to this and for us to reflect ourselves, like, myself and you, Matt, is even we're very highly driven, right? And probably most of your audience is because we attract who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Is that external drive to constantly be go, 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 go all the time. And we just want to get the job done. And we're so passionate and excited about it that we forget to clock out. Because as an entrepreneur, there isn't a physical time clock that we're being paid for. And so if I were to start over, I would ask myself, and in a way, in the last probably year, I've been starting over from scratch, asking myself these questions. I would simply say, what do I want it to look like when I get to that place of total fulfillment, joy, and abundance? And why can't I start doing that right now? So sometimes that means bringing my kids in and letting them listen to trainings with me, talking to them about what we're building and why we're building it. As we're looking at, buying the home that we really want with all the things in it, we sit down and we talk about, why are we doing this? Why does sometimes mom have more trainings this day and I can't be present, so that tomorrow or this weekend I don't have to focus on those things? And from a beginning to an end standpoint, it's kind of a emotional side of the vision. How do we want to feel when we get there? And let's start feeling that way now so that it's not a burden and we accidentally create the wrong things.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. As you were saying that, I was thinking to myself that as business owners, a lot of times we are starting over every day, no matter what. Because if we don't, we sometimes get complacent and we think that, maybe what we did yesterday will allow us to survive for the next few days. Well, it doesn't. We have to constantly start over in what we're doing in order to grow ourselves. And if we don't, then we find ourselves in trouble a lot. So I think that's a great answer to that. What about things so we've learned a lot about you today and a lot of the things that you do with helping other people, but what's something that maybe people don't normally know about you? What's a special interest or a hobby or a task or something that you want to share with everybody?
I want to share that. Uh, Something that tend to be pretty surprised about me just because I haven't, leaned into it in a long time is before starting to have kids, was very into modeling and dancing. And so like I have a medal in a worldwide Olympics event that still goes on now every year in California. And it's the World Championships of Performing Arts. And I actually have a third place medal in hip hop.
Mm,
And sometimes I'll bring it out and my kids know about it. Occasionally I'll do it in my reels, but it's not something that I do all the time. But I am very passionate about it and I'll like create dances and stuff here and there when I'm bored or whatever. And I have a whole file of reels I haven't released to the world yet.
okay. Well, that sounds pretty good. Well, I am a professional dancer in my own mind, but no one will ever see any of that. But I think that's pretty interesting. I asked this question to about everybody that's on the show, and there for a little while, I was getting a lot of people who were these closet type gardeners. They love to get out in the yard and work on their plants and stuff like that. And then had a few people who played the drums and just unbelievable things. But I think that is the first person. You're the first person that has received some type of medal for their performance. So that is fantastic. Kudos to you. As we round up our conversation today, what kind of tips do you have for new entrepreneurs, somebody that's just getting started, maybe in any type of business? Is there one specific thing that you could share with them?
One thing that, and I'll say from like when I was a beginner, what I wish somebody had said to me was that the goal isn't to like this copycat. You'll hear it a lot as a new entrepreneur. Just find somebody that you really admire and do exactly what they're doing. And you'll spend, like I did, probably a decade trying to be somebody else. The very first thing you should do is sit down and figure out who am I and what do I want my voice to sound like? And then look for things that you can do that help ignite that spark inside of you. Because if you try to be somebody else, you're not going to attract the right people. You're going to end up with people you don't want to work with. So just look for that at the very, very beginning. I wish somebody had told me it was okay to be me. Instead, I spent a decade being everybody else.
Okay. I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk a lot in my classes, and I always say that if you pay attention to him and you listen to the very last thing he says, that's always the most important. So I think we should end it there. Last thing you said was it's okay to be me. I think that is fantastic. I think that's great advice for the audience and anybody out there starting out. It's okay to be you, because nobody wants someone else. They want you and stuff. Samantha, thank you so much for being here today. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Samantha, you got anything else for us? Any final thoughts?
Just remember to create your life each moment of the day. And thank you,
Yeah.
Matt, for allowing me to be here and to share with everybody. What you're doing is really, really phenomenal. And I hope your audience knows how blessed and privileged they are to get to hear from you in these podcast episodes.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, Samantha. And same thing goes for your life. I'll put some of your links in the notes below so people can get in touch with you. And I'll be sure to make sure I get a good list. And I just wish you the best. I think that that is fantastic, everything that you're doing. And guys, if you are not a subscriber to the Expert Skiing podcast, please go ahead and make sure you do that. And we'll hear from more people just like Samantha in the future. Hope everyone has a great day.
Social media assistance and planning that will get them to that next level. But instead of working with you,
Lit. I'm the producer.